And we're back with another interview with Serg Lupescu. He is a young entrepreneur, business owner. I'm not even completely sure all the things that you do. You're kind of a man of many trades, it seems like. So if you could start by just giving me a little overview of all the businesses that you're in, and we can dive right in.
Yeah, so my main thing that I started was residential assisted living. So it's just a residential property, got licensed to do assisted living. And so there's like different levels of care that you can provide.
Okay.
And this is for the elderly population. And so that's the main business that I started initially. And then from there, I kind of ventured off into starting my YouTube channel, which you can consider, I guess, an online business. And then realized pretty quickly that I should probably create like a program or a course, you could say, because I was getting so many of the same questions all the time. And pretty much got tired of having to answer the same questions every single time. And I thought, well, let me create something. And so I did that. And then from there, got inspired by my best friend, my cousin as well, to get into vacation rentals and purchased a property. And yeah, started vacation rentals, and slowly but surely.
So was the assisted living the first business?
Well, actually, if we backtrack, I didn't have, so we're going to talk about failures, I'm sure, but I failed at one point, even before starting all these different things. I started, obviously, e-commerce and the whole drop shipping before drop shipping was drop shipping now. Started that with watches and bracelets. I one day was at work and was watching YouTube videos and came across this person that was doing it and got inspired by that and took my tax refund from my W-2 job that I had and just went off and tried to start this whole thing. And it sort of took off. I'm sure if I would have stuck with it, I just didn't do it long enough to see any real success with it. But, you know, made a few sales, kind of was like, wow, okay, this is actually like real, like legit. And then I branded it, which was a whole waste of money. But it was a good learning experience, I think, ultimately. But that's when I really found like my entrepreneurship, I guess you could call it. Kind of hate the word, but really that's where I realized, okay, I think I want to do something for myself. And this was while I was in nursing school.
Oh, nice. So you were buying white label products, putting your logo on them?
In the beginning, I was just doing like just the drop shipping. Wasn't my label or anything, wasn't my brand. And then I thought, well, I think I could probably make better margins if it was like my actual brand. So that's kind of how that went.
So you started that, got a bunch of inventory, made some sales, and then you were stuck with all this inventory basically?
Well, initially I got a ton of sales before I actually decided to purchase like the minimum order quantity. And then, because I thought, okay, if I could make sales like this, I could probably make more if it was my brand, and I ended up getting this inventory. And honestly, it wasn't that it failed. I just gave up on it just because I got overwhelmed with school, was going through some personal issues and whatnot, and pretty much just gave it up.
I've had some small businesses like that where it's like you start, you're making some money, but then you're like, is this really worth it? You know, the extra thing to think about for a couple $100 a month.
Yeah, and I thought about the longevity of it. Was it really something, it was serving a need of people wanting a product, but it wasn't like really serving a need. It wasn't meeting all the criterias of like longevity, which is to me with the whole assisted living business, I've really learned that I'm providing not only care, which is highly in demand, no matter what, people always need care. It's providing housing, which is also a need. And then it's also providing like food and those things. So it's meeting all those criteria.
So you're in nursing school. Did you were getting like your CNA license or something?
No, so I was a CNA. I got my CNA certification when I was 18.
So that's before nursing school.
So before nursing school, yeah. So the way that all kind of came about was so I was graduating high school. My sister, who was a respiratory therapist at the time, asked me, well, what do you want to do after high school? I always told myself I didn't want to work in the hospital because I had cancer as a kid. So I spent, I spent a lot of time in the hospital, absolutely hated the smells of hospitals, and just always told myself I wasn't going to get involved in healthcare. Ironically.
That's interesting, yeah.
So she asked me what I was going to do, and I was thinking law school possibly. And then she was like, well, why don't you go be a CRNA, which is a certified registered nurse anesthetist, and they put people to sleep, for people that don't know, kind of in layman's terms. And I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do to get there? So she was like, well, you need to get your foot in the door in the ICU. That way, when you finish nursing school, you can get your 2 years of experience, then go get your master's. Okay. So I was like, okay, so that's kind of the path that I went. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the goal that I was going for. And then, third semester of nursing school is when I started the whole e-commerce thing with the watches, the drop shipping thing. And
you kind of had like an entrepreneurial bug after you did that? Or?
Yeah, because I grew up in a family full of entrepreneurs. My dad immigrated from Romania during communism, came here with a bag of clothes.
Wow.
So he always hustled all his life. That's all he knew.
He's a business owner?
Yes, they are. They've always been and currently are.
Nice.
Yeah. So I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was.
Yeah, like
I didn't even know what it was.
Influence, and well, you did kind of by default by being around it. But I think it's a big. My parents are self-employed; they didn't have like employees. Right. But I think it's like a bigger advantage than you would even think, because you know it's possible. I think there's so many people who want to run a business, but they don't know anyone who owns a business, so it seems like impossible. But like if your parents do, or you have a relative who does, and you're like, well, I know them, and they're not like anything different than a normal person. But
yeah, and they did things like my dad. He did construction when he got here, mm-hmm. and then they sort of did like residential assisted living, but not for very long. I think they did it for like about a year. I remember when I was like really young, mm-hmm. there was like a bunch of elderly people in my house. I was like, what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? And my parents were like really strict. But anyway, so then he got into trucking because he realized he could make a lot more money having his own truck and everything. Okay. Kind of like a moving company. So, but yeah, he got into trucking, mm-hmm. Did that for 13 years. But
Owner-operator?
Owner-operator, okay. Yeah. And he just did it himself. He didn't have any other extra trucks or drivers or anything.
Right.
And seeing that, though, I was like, that's no way to live, because he was always on the road.
Right.
You know, I was like, if that's the quality of life that you have, I don't want that.
You're still trading time for money constantly.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
Exactly. Even though it's not for somebody else, you're still doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I saw that, and then I saw like throughout my family who did kind of start their own businesses, whether it was like my uncles or aunts even. They were just like never had time for their family. Mm-hmm. They never trusted anybody. They never had that delegation knowledge and willing to trust other people with their business.
Right. My parents have the exact same problem.
And I think that comes with that generation. I don't know. But when I saw that, I was kind of like, and not a lot of, I come from a family of 14, and I think only like 4 of us have graduated college. And the ones that did graduate college, they seem to be a lot happier. They seem to be like a lot better off than the ones who didn't even finish high school or college, if that makes sense.
So you think like the education is kind of freedom? Like you learn more?
They broke through some barrier.
Yeah.
You know, and when I saw that, I was kind of like, I would compare their lives, because that was a great thing. I'm number 13 out of the 14. Oh, wow. So I got to see a lot of my older siblings and really see the examples of what path they chose and how their lives are. Mm-hmm. And as you know, you want to get advice from people of who you want to inspire or aspire to be like and want their life. And so when I saw my siblings who went to college and graduated, their life compared to the ones that didn't, I was like, well, what the heck? I'm going to go to college. And that kind of is what inspired me to go to college.
Right.
I didn't really like say, oh, I don't want to go to college. You know, it's a pretty easy system.
Right.
Take the test and go through that.
You did go, but you didn't get the master's?
No, yeah. So I didn't. When I finally got that, like realized I had this entrepreneur bug, mm-hmm. I was like, dang, this is really what I want to do and pursue. I decided, no, I'm not going to go further on and stay in college.
Okay. So you graduated, and then you're just like dead set on like, let's find a house, let's do assisted living?
No, man. So that's one thing you hear from people. It's like, how did you know what you were gonna do? I'm a huge man of faith. I always stand by that. Like, I love God with everything that I am, and I'll always put him first, whether people believe in God or the universe, whatever it is they believe in. But mm-hmm. for me, that's a huge thing. And so I went through this phase, gave up my e-commerce business, and then finished my last semester of nursing school, graduated. And during that period, I was really, there was a lot of tension in my mind and my heart of like, well, I got these job offers in the ICUs and the ER. I gave a verbal commitment to the ICU that I was working in, but I knew I didn't want to do it. Like it just, there was this huge tension in my heart.
Right.
And I was just praying one night, and God just like told me to come out to Phoenix. As weird as to people it would be weird, but literally, like vocally, I heard him audibly like, Serg, go to Phoenix.
So where were you living at the time?
At home with my parents. Like, but I was working when this kind of happened.
In Arizona or?
No, so this was in Missouri. So
Okay.
I was actually, my parents moved from California to Missouri when I was 6. So I was raised in Missouri all my life, Springfield, Missouri. And that's where I went to college. I went to Baptist University there and everything. Was pretty much raised there. And then, yeah, after graduated nursing school just over 2 years ago, I came out here to Arizona. I mean, I had a cousin out here, but it wasn't close to them or anything.
So it was like moved to Arizona, figure it out from there, basically.
Yeah. I had in the back of my mind that I was going to do like, well, I had a colleague at work, which now we're business partners, ironically. That's why it's always good to be nice to everybody, because you never know who you might end up working with. But he had mentioned while we were working one night, because I did night shift and he did night shift, and he was like, dude, what about this like residential assisted living? And this was like about my 4th semester of college. Or actually it was like my 3rd semester, and he was just brought it up casually, and my aunt actually does it in Springfield.
Okay.
And so like when you have people in your family doing certain things, you never bother to like get any interest or information about it just because it's just there. It's like convenient, right? And you don't care. And that was kind of like my situation. My aunt does it in Springfield, but I never really like cared to like ask her. I just knew she does it, and that was it, you know? And I was like, well, dude, my aunt does it. And he's like, really? He's like, does it go good for her? I was like, well, she's been doing it for like 10 years. I'm sure it like, I mean, it provides for her family and stuff. And so at the time that we were like discussing all this, she was looking to open her 2nd location. And I asked her like, hey, would you mind if I graduated, that I come and manage your 2nd location, if that's, you know, if we could work something out and I can learn the ropes and everything. And it didn't fall through. She had issues with the 2nd location, whatever. I was like, well, crap, this kind of puts me in a bad position as far as that goes. And so I was like, well, and then God told me to come out here to Phoenix. And that's kind of how I knew in the back of my mind, well, I know Phoenix is a really huge area of this whole entire business.
Right.
So yeah, I came out here really not knowing what I was doing at all. I was running circles for like the first 4 months. Got scammed, actually. Some person promised one thing, and that wasn't the case. And yeah, I got scammed like thousands of dollars.
With the assisted living stuff?
Yeah. Well, I was told something completely different regarding like behavioral homes instead of assisted living. And this person was telling me, hey, go down this path. It's a lot easier, blah, blah, blah. And really wasn't the case. And yeah, kind of learned really quickly.
Learned some lessons real quick.
Real quick. It's like, you know, I practically jumped off the cliff and landed face first, but just got back up and kept going.
Okay, so you're out here and now you're looking for a home to potentially do this.
Yeah.
So how can you afford something like this?
Well, the thing was, so this lady that I was just telling you about, or this person, there was one blessing that came out of that whole situation.
The scammer?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one blessing that came out of that situation. She found the location that I currently still do, my residential, and I rented it. So that's how I was able to get it.
Interesting.
So the landlord, my landlord currently still, she had it already zoned and everything for residential assisted living because they were doing it before. So like everything kind of happened for a reason, you know, and I don't regret anything. And so that's how it kind of came about.
Okay.
So
with that, are rents more like commercial rents, higher per square foot, or is it closer to like a residential?
It's higher just because of the fact that you're running a business out of it.
Right. Yeah. Now, can that be placed in any neighborhood, or how does that work?
No. So yeah, back like, I think they passed this regulation like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where they have to be a quarter mile apart.
Oh,
So
okay.
if there's one zone, it has to be at least a quarter mile
That's
distance
interesting.
between them before you can zone another property.
Huh.
Because people were opening them like literally across the street from each other.
Right. Well,
You
that
know?
makes sense. You could have nurses walk right across the street if you know.
Yeah.
Needed.
So that regulation was really healthy, I think, because they'd just be everywhere.
Right.
And I think neighbors would hate that because you got ambulances, firefighter trucks coming, etc. So yeah, I think that kind of overall. So each city ordinance now has their different regulations as far as how many beds you can zone for. The distance thing, though, is statewide. So that it doesn't matter what city ordinance you're in.
Is it tough to get the zoning for that? Or is
It all
basically
depends
like-
on the city ordinance. Yeah. So like Tempe has its own regulations. Gilbert will have its own regulations. Mesa will have its own regulations.
Do you know
et
what
cetera.
that process looks like?
Yeah, because I had to go through it. So I had to rezone it under my entity, and then also get licensed. Because you cannot, you have to get your C of O in order to even apply for your state licensure to get licensed as an assisted living. So you have to get that beforehand.
So what's the time frame from all that? Let's say someone wants to do this, isn't licensed yet, doesn't have a location. You know, how long do you think of a runway it takes?
Knowing what I know now, I could probably do it in 2 months.
2 months. Yeah. But someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
If they don't know what they're doing, they're probably going to be like me and take 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
Probably
It's
double
not
the time.
insane.
Yeah. In most states, like California, it takes about a year, even to get like anywhere, zone, all that stuff, to go through the entire process. Arizona is a lot more lenient on the way they license and everything. So I got zoned within like a month, and that was me being very aggressive with city ordinance, like calling them every single day.
Yeah. Well, you
Hey,
got
where
to
we
if
at?
you're paying
Yeah,
rent,
exactly.
especially.
Yeah, you got to start getting that cash flow coming in.
So you have to have a caretaker's license to start?
A caregiver's. So the people get confused oftentimes of what a certification and a license is. So certifications are anywhere between 4 to 5 months to get. Okay. So like caregiver certification, CNA certification, assisted living manager certification. None of those are licenses. They're all just certifications, which you can easily attain. They're not hard. And so you do need to have a manager, and then also you don't need any caregivers because you essentially could be the caregiver when you start out. But those caregivers do need to be certified. And then you got like caregiver assistants who work under a certified caregiver. Mm-hmm. So you don't necessarily need to always hire certified caregivers if you're like the manager and you're there pretty like all the time.
So not everyone needs to have their CNA license that's there.
So here, the funny thing is here in Arizona, CNAs are completely different from the caregivers as far as what they're able to do.
Okay.
CNAs can't pass meds.
I see.
Here in the state of Arizona, caregivers can.
Okay, there's all sorts of nuances here.
Yeah,
I'm totally unfamiliar with this.
No,
business,
dude, great questions. Great questions. Those are really great questions.
I'm just trying to think in terms of like, okay, someone's interested in doing this. What do they have to do to get started? So, yeah, that's definitely interesting. So, okay, you have your building. Now you have this empty building that you need to get filled. How do you go about finding?
Well, man, I'll tell you what. So, the one thing was I came to the point of failure, even with this business. I wasn't even zoned yet. I was like in the process of getting a zone, like the property that I have. And I realized I was getting scammed. I was running in circles. Nothing was being done. And I just recall, like I was laying in bed one day in my apartment that I could not afford. And I sat there and I was like, I'll do whatever it takes not to go back to Springfield, Missouri. Like that was my last motivation. Like my mom was like my last support. And she was just like, come home. And I was like, no. And I remember someone mentioning this manager school that I needed to go get my manager certificate from. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm just going to go there. I had maybe $1,000 left that my mom like gave me. She was like, this is your last like amount that you're going to get. So good luck. Mm-hmm. And I go to the school and so I sign up, whatever, takes about like a month. I think it's like about a month to get it. I sign up, I'm going through this manager course or whatever for this assisted living. And there's this, whoever the instructor was, seemed very knowledgeable, was really talking from like real life experiences within the industry and everything. And I approached her and I just said, hey, do you by chance do any consulting? Like,
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
yeah, because I was like, just be observant of that kind of stuff when you're talking to people.
Right.
Because it's a simple question as that could change your life. And it did. And she was like, yeah. And I told her my whole situation. She was like, yeah, I'll help you out. And so she did all my paperwork for the home in order to get licensed. She helped me with my open house. So she had a huge network of people that place in the home, from placement agents to hospices to home health, case managers. So that kind of...
That was the game changer.
Yeah, that was the game changer right there. But it also just came from a simple question of like, hey, I need help.
So did she just help you out, or was it like a paid kind of service?
I paid her. Okay. I paid her my last $1,000 I had.
Well, it sounds like it was worth $1,000.
The return, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was definitely. And now we're actually working together. She's,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so she's one of my business partners on another venture that I started.
So now you're at the point where if you were to open a second location, then you could probably do all that stuff yourself because you have the connections and...
Yes, yeah. So the first year, I don't know, it was ego. It's for sure ego, where I was like, I'm going to open 10 of these.
Right, everyone's
like that. They see a little bit of success with it. They see it kind of taking off. And I was like, I'm going to open 10 of these. I did get my beds filled pretty quickly just because I hosted the open house. People came. I met them face to face. And so people built that trust factor. And they're like, all right, well, we'll help you out. We'll do what we can. And if we get any leads or any type of people that need service in your area, we'll give you a call and whatever. We'll get that all going. So yeah, that kind of is how it happened, was just that networking and keeping those relationships going. And that network has obviously grown a lot more since then.
Right. So how long was it before you broke even on all your expenses for this?
I lost money that first year because of the money that I put in from the scam, because I took that into consideration. Right. I think I broke even this past year. I was probably like 15, 16 months in when I broke even. So
that's fair.
Yeah, dude, I worked really hard though to like try to recuperate as much as that loss that I had.
Right.
So
were you doing everything? You were doing the caretaking, finding tenants, all that in the beginning? Yeah, that's what it takes. That's what a lot of people don't want to do. I have so many people ask me, they're like, okay, how do I start this business but not do any of the work? They just want to hire stuff out right away. I'm like, well, if you have $100,000, maybe you can hire all that out and then hope that you can figure out the systems along the way. But it's way better if you're like in the trenches, figuring it out, then you can understand what works, what doesn't work, kind of build up the systems from there. Yep. Like I did moves for like 16 months before I ever,
hired somebody.
I had crews of guys, but I was on jobs every single day.
You're doing it with them.
Yeah, exactly. So I was working alongside, everyone at least every 2-3 days because we'd rotate. I think I had like 3 crews at that time. And, I was working with everyone. I was doing payroll at the end of the day after the shift was over. I was, running credit cards at the end of the day. Like literally everything you think of, I was doing all those. Yeah. And just that understanding of how these things work. I mean, that's invaluable,
that's something no one can ever take from you.
Right.
That experience.
And now, if I did it again, I could do it much quicker for sure because I have that experience and I know the things that I would delegate right away. Like I did payroll way too long before I hired someone else to do that.
Right.
And as soon as I did that, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? Because payroll is annoying to do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that being in the trench, people are so afraid of, the hard work, being in the trenches, like just do it,
Yep.
So many people.
And that's the thing, man. You got to go 150% in or not at all. I didn't even go work another job. This was like my full on, either I'm sink or swim.
So now, do you still work there? You do the managing? What exactly is your capacity there?
Yeah, so now I'm just like the manager. I've always been the manager. I enjoy the role actually. It really gives me like that fulfillment that I love my residents. Like as crazy as that, like I genuinely love the families that I work with and they love me. They love like my staff. And I ultimately have built, like, it's all about like that environment and culture,
Right.
like what standards you have and live by. And when you can do that, like people will see that,
Oh, yeah.
and it'll make a huge difference. It's what's going to really separate you from your quote unquote competition.
But really, the question is, okay, you have this like wonderful culture and understanding of each other. How is that like system captured and placed in more locations? Like, is that even possible to have what you're putting in that place, at a location that you're not at?
Right. And I think that's ultimately finding the right team members.
Right.
People that actually live by your standards.
Yeah.
And that
They've been around you.
They've been around you.
That.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something as like a manager or leader are supposed to do.
So what's the difference between like a good assisted living home as far as like the culture there and a poor one?
Oh man, I've seen it all. So you can really tell off the bat the moment you walk in an assisted living just by the way it's set up, by the way you're greeted, by the way you're talked to, the staff that they have, the way their residents are when they see you or talk to you or even talk to others. So, it's all like that's the huge difference is just that is the environment that's in your home. Aside from like cosmetically, like how the home looks and aesthetics and all that, that plays a huge factor, just shows like your character, because how you do one thing, I sort of believe this, like how you do one thing, you do everything, and like that is definitely true about me. Like I'm very overall OCD to some extent, not to the extreme, but I do love things to be organized and clean. That goes the same for my car. That goes the same for where I sleep,
Right.
Everything, even my home, all my businesses.
Your things are in order. Just
yeah, like that, and that just shows like your character overall and who you are as a person. If your character is just sloppy and you just really don't care, that's going to show too.
So that culture is that. It's pretty obvious that you're looking for those values in the employees you hire, but also are you looking for that in the potential tenants that are moving in? Or is there like a screening, like, hey,
that's kind of like hard to do as far as, but I do definitely so the way the whole process works as far as like getting residents in your home, you get a call, whether from one of your placement agents, a hospice, whoever is referring the client over to you. You'll get a call. Hey, this is the rundown of this person, their health issues, etc. You're like, okay, what's their budget? You talk all that.
Right.
If it sounds like a good fit, then it's worth looking into, and then you go and have the family tour the home. And so they tour the home. You meet the family, and that's when it's a good time to kind of ask the family a lot of questions about the resident, the client that's coming in that they're placing, and then also them. Usually the tour lasts about 30 to 45 minutes. And I've gotten pretty good at reading people, kind of their personality, how they are. And overall, like that's usually like, if I can tell they're going to be needy, I can tell off the bat right away is by like when they ask a ton of questions as far as like just random questions, like just things that aren't really related to what we're doing.
Right.
I can tell right off the bat if they're going to be needy, and just being able to read people. And you also got to do, like, you learn sales pretty easily too, but like that, I never really have to sell, because it's like that whole concept of you got the food and they're the cat. They're coming to you, right?
Right.
Because you got what they need. I'm never out like trying to like get people to come to me.
Oh, interesting. So you're pretty much always full, or
for the most part,
have people who
like
want
my
to
vacancy rate last year was like 90, like either 90 or 95%.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there was like 1 month where I wasn't completely full.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, but the whole thing is like you then meet with the family, you get a feel of the family, then you go and assess the resident if possible. Most likely they'll be in a rehab or in the hospital getting ready to get discharged. I've had cases where they're just at home and family can't take care of them anymore. And so I'll go assess the resident, get a feel of the resident, talk with them, get to see them, put my eyes on them, ask the nurses or whoever's taking care of them more questions. And so then you can kind of make a decision from there.
So is there like certain conditions that you're like, no, sorry, we don't do?
Oh
whatever.
yeah. There's been cases where I'll literally like, I'll see somebody and I'll be like, yeah, definitely not. Usually it's cases where like I don't have enough staff at the moment to be able to assist them getting up transfers, etc.
Right.
I'm not going to put my business at risk and then also my staff to get injured and liabilities, stuff like that.
So once you have someone in, are they pretty much stay there until they're gone?
It all depends. There's some residents who come, whether they have like a hip fracture and they just need rehab.
Oh, okay.
So those are like respite stays. Mm-hmm. So you charge a higher rate on a daily basis for those types of people. And then because of the whole having to admit them, then discharge them, all extra paperwork you got to do for that.
So how long does someone like that stay in?
It all depends on how fast they can recover. Usually they're followed by like home health. So you'll have occupational therapy and physical therapy that will come along with them. Currently at the moment, I have a resident who was supposed to be a respite stay, but she's just not recovering as fast as she's wanted to. Mm-hmm. So she's been with me now 2 months when she was supposed to just stay a month. But, everybody works at different.
And that's at a day rate?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So what would a day rate be for something like that?
Usually I do like respite stay, I do like $200 a day.
Okay, so that definitely adds up fast.
It adds up pretty quick.
And then for someone who's expected to be there for years, what's the...
I do a monthly rate at that point.
Okay.
If I know they're going to be a long-term stay, it's usually I charge, so like on a private room, which is just one bed, and then there's a semi-private room that I have, which is 2 shared beds. So on a shared bed, in my area, I do $2,500 per bed, and then private $3,500.
Okay, so you're looking.
So you got 5 beds,
$80 to $120 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the numbers make sense there. Yeah. And I mean, so is there a preference for you? Like, which ones do you like having more?
As far as like residents or?
Yeah, would you rather someone who is there for 2 months at a lower rate, or at a higher rate, or someone?
I like the longer stays, because you're not dealing with the headache of having to fill that bed again.
Right. Yeah.
Going through that process. So.
I rent out rooms in my house, and it essentially pays for my entire mortgage plus utilities plus some. It's like insane. So it's the exact same deal where, I want people who are going to be there for a year plus, but I don't say like, hey, you're going to sign this 1-year contract, because I find that when you don't have that, people tend to stay longer. If you're like, no, stay as long as you want, just give me a month's notice. Yeah. And then people just like, oh, one more month.
Right. And they don't feel obligated, It's not as big of a burden if they,
Right. Yeah. So that I found that works, not putting the limits, because in the past I've done like 6-month lease or whatever, and then they leave right on the 6 months.
Okay. Yeah.
So I found that interesting, but it's kind of the same deal.
Yeah.
Except I'm not feeding them and changing their pants.
Yeah, man. And I think a lot of people have that misconception of like, oh, you got to do that. Dude, to me, it's all about perspective. It's all like. If you change your perspective of like, well, this is a privilege for me to do this for the most vulnerable population out there.
Right.
Dude, you'll have a way better attitude about when it comes to them. Like I know for a fact, knowing my God and how you're rewarded overall as a person is like serving others and what you're doing for others. And your blessings will come back tenfold. You know what I mean? So if you're doing that and you're like having a terrible attitude about it, and like, because there's times where it calls for me to do that, right? Dude, I tell my staff, there's nothing I would make them do that I wouldn't do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so that's just overall how to like just be a great leader.
Yeah, that's a good standard.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's the business you're in. You can't, I can't go get into the moving business and then be mad that I have to buy trucks.
Right, exactly.
What do you expect?
Or having to pay like for maintenance and or even do the maintenance sometimes yourself, because it's just more cost effective.
Exactly. Yeah, truck breaks down, we obviously try to do everything we can to avoid that, but what are you going to do? That's what makes the money.
Exactly. And like I'm pretty sure you probably have this whole like standard too at your business, but I tell my staff, hey, my business is our business. Like, this is our business, not mine.
Right.
Hey, we lose a few clients because of your lack of discipline and your lack of care. Guess what? You may not have a job coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
sense,
it affects me, it affects you, it affects everybody. So like, This is our business. We got to do everything we can to take
Right.
care of each other and take care of these
Yeah.
people.
And when you look at it, all a business really is a group of people. So,
Yeah.
the business is the people that are in it.
Exactly.
For the most part.
Do you read a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book? That's a tough question. This is a good one here. I actually uploaded a video yesterday or 2 days ago. That was my top 12 favorite books.
Let me watch that.
My number one favorite is probably Never Split the Difference.
I don't think I've
It's
read
on all. It's all about like deal negotiations and like how to like bring down tense situations and it's just on deal making basically. And that one just
I need to
blew.
read that one.
Yeah, that just blew my mind. And that's the kind of book where you can read it and then the next day you're gonna try something and be like, wow, that worked.
Wow.
I remember
so
when
you could apply it very
Yes,
easily.
I remember when I first read it. This was probably 3 years ago. There's a tactic in there where it's like identifying how the other person feels in an argument, and I'd read that, and literally like a couple days later, I tried that tactic on my girlfriend at the time.
Oh, really?
And it worked flawlessly.
That's
All you
awesome.
say is like you identify it. You just say like, I feel like you are blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, I feel like you think I'm trying to whatever. And they either like agree with it, and then you have this level playing field where they agree with it and they're explaining why they feel that way, or they disagree and have to explain why they feel that way.
Interesting.
And it works better than you would ever expect.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So yeah, that's a definitely a must read.
Yeah. I'll definitely have to ask you to send that over to me.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Dude, honestly, I read one. I love reading. I didn't really get into reading. I don't know why I didn't. Because I think I just didn't see a lot of people in my life read, and you just kind of like, you're a product of your environment.
Right.
And so like I was never like pushed to read or
It's a
anything.
lot of work
but
too.
yeah, and I think I was just on the conference call when I got here, and I was talking with this gentleman, and I said, dude, one thing I've learned is that it's all about your intentions in life. So everything that you do, what are your intentions? Because that's going to really determine the outcome. So like for me, it's like if I'm going to read, what is my intention of reading said thing or doing said thing, right?
Yeah. So does that change per book, or is that a general?
That's just the overall like lesson that I've just like learned in life. Is like if my intention is to go into this thing to like, there's no shame in like going into a deal to make money.
Right.
If that's your intention, then that's what you're most likely gonna get.
Right.
And like I was telling him, I said, people approach me or whatever, and I always try to see what their intention is. Are they just like intentionally trying to like build a relationship, or are they just intentionally trying to get information from me? So, and that will kind of determine the decision that I end up making as far as that relationship goes.
Yeah. So do you have like an example of?
Yeah. So like reading, for instance, I never crossed my mind to read, but then I was like, you know what? How can I grow my mindset? How can I become better? How do I develop as far as a leader and a better business owner, etc. In reading. And that was one observation I made from a lot of successful people, is that they just read a lot, and they try to grow their mindset, try to develop more of a better perspective on life.
Right.
So I was like, that's my intention, is to just do that, and not just to read for pleasure or pastime.
That's your pastime to.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I started doing that last year, like, I don't know, in August or something, just to like pick up and read, like intentionally to learn, and what can I get from this information. And my favorite one that I've read up to this point is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
That's a good one.
Dude, that one really did it for me, because I could see a lot of him in me, and it was very relatable, and like you just see the possibility of where you could go in life.
So it was relating, and like he was moving around, traveling all this, and kind of like came across these ideas and kind of found his way. Is that kind of how you connected with it?
Yeah, or just like taking risk on your on you, like,
right.
You know what? Like, I have this idea brewing up in my mind. I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, his story is completely different, but like as far as the struggles that, like, he's had struggles, right? He talks about them. It wasn't an easy path for him, And everybody in society now is entitled. Everybody's like, well, this is how it should go. And if it doesn't go this way, then I give up.
Right.
You know, and it just really showed that I wasn't alone as far as that goes, you know, and realizing, yeah, like it's going to be part of the journey. It's a struggle. And when you get, you know, and so it was just like seeing that, and then also like learning from him, and as far as like what he did approaching business and how he did it. And like, you know, he talks about like his friend who kept sending him all kinds of letters and he would just ignore it because it just wasn't important.
Yeah, that's what bothered me.
Yeah, and to me, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of messed up. But then I was like, well, is he prioritizing? You know, is it necessary for him to stress over the fact that his friend has a million things to say and recommendations, etc.?
Well, that wasn't just his friend; it was the guy who was working for him.
Yeah,
giving
too,
suggestions.
Yeah.
So it was like, dude, answer the guy who's trying to make the business better.
I know. I felt for the guy. That was
It's like I wish I had someone working for me who was like, let's try this idea, let's try this, let's try this.
But I think from, you know, and it was interesting to see those perspectives. You know, he never obviously gives us like his coworker or his friend's perspective of like how he felt, you know, but his like whole thing was like, well, dude, I got a million other things going on here that I got to handle. You have the job that you have, you know, handle it type of thing.
Right. Well, that makes sense too. In the delegation.
One thing I learned from that too was when I bring on staff or like I'm looking to hire or whatever for like that 90-day probation, I just kind of let them do their thing, you know, and I want them to take initiative as far as that goes. Like I want to see what they're willing to do. Like I'll train you on the basics, what I expect from you. But as far as like, I want to see them make those recommendations or see them. So yeah, like you said, it'd be cool to have those coworkers or those people like, hey, can we do this better? And I think that comes down to us as like business owners, and, you know, because it's like kind of let them know, hey, I want to see you take initiative.
Yeah, and
giving them kind of
I will say some people do, but it's just rare. And I'm constantly saying like, if I do something dumb or that I can do better, let me know. Tell me, because there's no one who's like actively criticizing me, and I don't know unless you know there's something going on. Or if you're on a job and you're like, hey, this would make a lot more sense if we did this instead. Come to me with it, and I can either explain why we do it that way, or be like, oh wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah, because we always think in our minds we're doing the best thing possible, or it's the best idea or the best way to do something.
I try to think it's the best current idea.
Yeah.
There's always a better way, but
exactly. Yeah. And like sometimes if we don't have those extra eyes or those extra people to kind of be like, oh, well, this is kind of how I see things, and you have to be very open-minded to people's like, that was just suggestions or recommendations. And I don't know. I mean, since you've started YouTube, and everything, do you get people that give you kind of like criticism or like give you any recommendations as far as that goes?
Biggest recommendation is better audio, which we have.
Seriously?
Now. Yeah, that was really the only complaint. I would just use like lapel mics or whatever I was holding at the time. But that was, I get very few complaints. I wish people would tell me more what they want to see, because that'd be helpful to focus more on that. Yeah. If anything, it's more like focusing on the positives, like just checking to see what gets the most views in the shortest period of time from my subscribers. Like I do a series with my girlfriend where she's building this cleaning business, and we're kind of like documenting how things go for her, and people absolutely love those videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they love.
Is she on Turnover B&B?
No.
Do you know what that is?
No, I don't know what that is.
Tell her to check it out. It's really good.
Are they doing the same thing?
No. So.
Oh, that's like an app or something?
Yeah. So
service.
It's what I use for my vacation rentals, and how I like hire cleaners. It's really good because it's like.
Oh, okay. So it's
they can
a way to
contract that. Yeah, you just contract out your jobs.
What's it called?
Turnover B&B.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, do that. She'll probably get
because she does some Airbnbs.
Yeah, do that. She'll get a lot of jobs from that. I can guarantee you. Yeah.
How are the rates though? Are they?
So the way it works is like I will put my listing up on there, and then I will put what I want, like what my listing is. So if it's like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath like listing, then everybody will send their offers in. So like bids.
Oh, okay.
and then you just choose which bids.
So on there, is there like a review system or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet setup.
So you, as the owner of the Airbnb, are you just picking the cheapest?
No, I did that mistake,
Okay.
and it didn't work out very nice. I don't know what happened. I don't know whatever happened to that cleaner, to be honest. I just never heard back from them.
Oh, they just didn't show up. Or,
Left me hang dry. Yeah.
yeah, that happens because we're focusing big time on not being cheap.
Yeah.
You know, it's more expensive. It's in the upper middle range of pricing.
Yeah.
But she's going to be there. She's going to kick ass. She's going to,
And so the thing
awesome
was
job.
so you can have like backup cleaners in case.
Oh yeah.
So the cool thing is it's all automated, obviously, which makes it really nice for like the hosts and the people that are running this type of business, and even the cleaners, and so like, for instance, all your calendars are synced in there. So when someone books, it instantly sends them a notification,
nice.
and they can either pick up the job or not. And if you have backup ones, they can either pick it up if the primary cleaner didn't pick it up.
So who pays Turnover B&B? Do
They
you?
just take their fee. It's like,
In between the transaction?
yeah, in between. So
Okay.
they charge I think they charge me like 3%,
I see.
and then I think they charge, I don't know if the cleaners, I don't know, because I haven't set it up from a cleaner's side of it, but
Okay. So that's for all services or just cleaning?
just cleaning.
Okay.
As far as that goes, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely ever.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's made my life a million times easier. So,
Right.
But yeah, man, because I was doing cleaning for the vacation rentals
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, so I like learned pretty quickly. Like, dang,
You don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
It took a lot of time, dude. It would take me like 4 hours to clean everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was like, dude,
Yikes.
I don't know if I'm just really bad at this or like, but they obviously have a team and stuff, so they probably send like 2 or 3 people. In
Yeah,
at
and you
once,
get the process. Like she's like, start top to bottom, do this
Right.
first, this,
Yeah.
and
I did build like a process, but still, it was taking me forever to do it, and it's just like.
Wow. So tell me about the Airbnb company or.
Yeah, so I have it on VRBO and
Okay.
Airbnb, and like I said, I purchased a home with Javier
Oh, nice.
through Lizzie's mortgage deal with Guild. So really seamless process. Really loved them both, and that's kind of how that whole relationship came about. But I found Javier on YouTube as well one night. So like my whole intention was to do like vacation rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, and all that. And so I got a house, but it also has a guest suite attached to it. So it's 2 listings on one property,
nice.
sort of like a duplex, but
Okay.
not necessarily a duplex setup. And so at first I lived in the guest suite for a few months and then moved out and put both of them, the main house. And so as far as that goes, I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it. And I'm sure you know this about your businesses too, right?
Oh yeah.
I think too many people oftentimes out there think that like, oh, I'm going to go into this business. It's going to be stress-free and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. If you knew all the downsides before you started, you probably would never start.
Actually, I sort of knew the downsides because my buddy was doing it, and he would tell me stories about guests that he would have and et cetera. But it was a risk I was willing to take, and that was just all part of it. It's just like, okay, now you know an idea of like what the downsides are. But it's like, now that you know both, are you willing to still go ahead with it? And I think that's where the people that are more experienced in business, et cetera, really make that step in that
Proof
leap.
of concept and then kind
Exactly.
of expand on it. So it's going well?
Yeah, so it started out, because we started out in end of June. So summers here in Phoenix are slow for the most part. So your nightly rates are a lot lower than they are during like fall, winter, and spring. So we were breaking even. Like the first,
Still
second.
builds equity.
Still builds equity, and then each month we kept grossing more and more, which was really good. And this month, as of right now, is our highest profiting month. So it's essentially like what we were anticipating, because it takes time to build those reviews.
Right.
Takes time to get that super host status, all that. So yeah, you kind of have to build it up and build a listing up.
And then March is huge in Arizona with spring training.
Well, dude, yeah, like right now, I mean, even though I got cancellations because of the coronavirus, I still got people booking, because a lot of the people that did cancel is because they were either coming for spring training,
right,
which ended up getting canceled, and then conferences.
Oh yeah, yeah. You were saying before the show you had like $2,000 in
Yeah, like in
cancellations.
1 week, like over $2,000.
Wow. So were those replaced? Were those replaced?
Yeah, some of them, yeah. So we recuperated a few.
Dang, that sucks. Because I know March is like the crazy month. Because I've seen like the numbers for my house. If I were to rent it out on Airbnb in March, it's just like so much higher than all the other months.
Yeah. March has, so far as right now, it's our most profitable month. So
despite the
corona
scare.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and it's kind of funny, man. And I don't mean to like. I get it. It is like a pandemic, and people are scared, and et cetera. And the media is making it seem like it's this. I think Ebola was honestly probably way worse than the coronavirus, but whatever. But it's funny because when people book, they had the option of non-refundable to get like a 10% discount.
Oh.
They knew that they were not going to get their money regardless of what the situation may have been, whether the thing got canceled, whether they got sick.
Yeah.
That's the point of non-refundable. Literally everybody's wanting full refunds.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no. You chose non-refundable.
Right.
It doesn't matter if there's a virus, if you have a sickness, whatever the case is. You know, and it's just funny because people are like, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. You're trying to keep our money. So it's like this whole
It's like, well, come
entitlement.
and stay.
It's whole this entitlement.
Yeah.
Like they're as if they're entitled to their money after they knew beforehand. So there's a bit of a frustration.
If someone cancels, you get to keep that deposit on the non-refundable. Can you rent it out still on those days?
Yeah, you can still rent it out.
So it could potentially be a benefit.
Yes,
you could double up on.
I just decided, you know what, I'll just give everybody back full refunds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm like, you know what, I'm not that greedy, and it'll pay 10 times forward. You know, in case that guest does want to come back to Phoenix or needs to come back, I'm sure they'll look up my listing knowing that they got a full refund. You know what I mean? So
it's interesting.
Yeah. So that other than that, man, it's a huge learning curve there. I think everything up to this point, as you know, building a business, you just there's a huge learning curve there, and with everything that God has helped me start, you know, I've started everything kind of from the ground up, everything pretty much from the ground up. Really not having any experience in it. It's just like, dude, just go out there and do it. Just hard work. Just stay consistent.
Right.
I think too many people try to sit there, get analysis paralysis or paralysis analysis, whatever it's called, and they just try to think that they need to know everything before they start.
Yeah, I see that problem a lot where people are emailing me like, how should I do this business plan for this? And I'm like, I never did a business plan. Like you just, you know, you just get started. You just get going and you start figuring out.
Create the business plan yourself.
Especially, you know, I deal a lot with like service type businesses where it's like, this business plan isn't going to really do you much. You'll be much better off by just setting some goals. Like, I'm going to go out and talk to X amount of people. That should be your business plan. Yeah. It should just be like an accountability plan more than anything.
Yeah. And that was one thing I learned pretty quickly in business is not wasting your time with people who won't really like help you and won't really benefit your business. So like I would meet with people that had really nothing to do with my business, like for networking reasons.
Right.
And it's like, what the heck?
Right.
Like I'm literally wasting my time when I could be working on my business during that period or that time of that meeting.
So like what's an example of someone that you used to like reach out to build a network and now you don't anymore?
So a lot of people, actually. When I first started out, there was all types of people in the industry that had really no like way of helping me as far as like getting residents into my home, being a provider. One was trying to grow my social media account, as you know, the whole SMMA, and it's like, what the crap? I can like do assisted living That's not
probably
gonna.
the worst thing to do social media.
I'm like, why are you wasting my time right now? You know what I mean? And so like people like that, and then, man, there's so many, and then just other people who would reach out and just say, "Oh, we can like meet up, and I can kind of check out your business. Maybe I can send somebody over or whatever." I mean, there's just people that kind of like want to seem important or feel like they're doing business,
right?
When in reality, there's like,
why do so many people want meetings all the time? That's what I don't understand.
well, that's
like,
the thing, yeah.
It's like, yeah, let's catch up and have a meeting, talk about whatever service. I'm like, dude, just send me an email with information. If I want to do it, I'll do it. Me going to the meeting isn't going to make me more likely to do it.
Exactly, and that's what like brings me back to the whole intention thing. It's like, what are people's intentions here?
Right.
You know, and dude, I literally, my life has been so much better by me just not taking certain meetings and talking to certain people, because I'm like, okay, I look into who they are and what they're about, and I'm like, there's a difference between like building an actual relationship, but then there's a difference of building like a business relationship as far as that goes.
So you were just saying yes to everyone.
Everybody, just to network. Because you always get that, network, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of a recluse, so I never really did that. Plus, I was always so busy that it was like, I can't,
I thought I was busy by taking all these meetings.
That's another thing, too, that I see a lot is the fake busyness where you're doing things, but it's not actually producing anything. It's like, and I find myself doing that sometimes, too, where I'm like, busy working on something, but then I stop and I'm like, okay, is this actually like
Tim
productive?
Ferriss touches on that a lot.
Yeah, he's huge on like the
that.
major efficiency, almost to like a fault. I feel like some of his experiments is like it loses a little bit of value in what he does. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I like doing things like, we send out flyers and I just want to do something mindless but productive for a little while. So I'll like stick a couple hundred flyers or something like that. That's kind of different. But other times where I'm like doing something, I'm like, wait, is this actually productive? Or a second question is, can I delegate this out and do something that I can't delegate out?
Yeah. And dude, and that's helped. Like if you can figure that out pretty quick and early on, overall your sanity is going to be so much better. Right. Because you're not going to feel like you're obligated to do all this stuff and meet with all these people, and you just really learning how to say no. And the same with like, I say no to a lot of things now. I mean, I turn down students for my program just because I know what I'm capable of like taking on, and making sure that like I really do prioritize like the relationships that I care about, and make sure that they get the time that they need and get the nurture that they need. And I don't take on things that I just know I can't prioritize anymore, and so it's really important to do that as far as like as you start to grow and as you start to like expand and everything. And it's very important, dude. I think that's just something that comes with experience, because I didn't really learn that, quote unquote. Like I'm sure you could read it somewhere, but until you actually experience it and you go through it, and I'm sure you can attest to it, it's like you really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a situation where I was like forced to delegate things just by sheer necessity. There was just so much going on, and I saw my dad.
How was that for you? Was that a little like hard in the beginning to like delegate?
Actually, it wasn't too bad.
Was it weird?
Because it was such a relief. And I mean, I had employees from day one because I had guys working with me. So I was already used to having employees and, having them do little things if I could, or, things like that. So it wasn't really weird. And even prior to the moving company, I had ran a pool cleaning business, which I had a couple employees there. And, before that, I had, would hire people. How was that?
I hear a lot of people do the pool cleaning, obviously depending on the area, but like.
Yeah, I mean, I loved that business. I built up a route fairly quickly, kept it for a couple of years, and then sold the route. And I think that alone could be a potentially really good business model, because you can sell a route for about 10 times monthly revenue.
Okay.
So, and I mean, I built up that route that I sold, which was like a full pool cleaning route for one person in like a couple months.
Yeah.
and then sold it for like, I can't remember the exact amount, $50-some thousand.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that I was making money every month off of it anyways.
Right.
So
Did
it
you
was
have a
pretty
lot
good.
of overhead since it was just
No, one truck. The supplies are like under $1,000. Super easy.
Dang.
Yeah.
So did you end up going to college at all?
I went to college for 2 years in Minnesota. I was going for entrepreneurial studies, and then I dropped out and moved.
Entrepreneurial studies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Not even a
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did that.
Yeah, it kind of teaches you a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Accounting, finance, contract law, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I think the last year is kind of BS. It's more like
Were there prereqs that you had to do
thing.
for it?
Just your basic business prereqs.
Okay.
Math, language. But I had already had all that done like in high school.
Oh, okay.
But I actually liked that part, like the accounting, finance, that kind of stuff, economics. But I ended up dropping out, and then I moved here and started that pool cleaning business.
Did you move here alone or family?
I moved with a friend who went to the college with me. So
Really?
we both moved to Arizona, and I didn't know anyone here.
Dang,
And
man.
for a while, like I was kind of like I don't know exactly what to do. I didn't start the pool cleaning business right away.
Right.
And I was actually even thinking about going to ASU. My intention was at first to go there, but then I didn't end up going there. But I just read like a shit ton of books. I read every single finance book in the Tempe library here. Like I'm talking like 40 or 50 finance books, because at that time I was dead set on doing something having to do with like equities or stocks or something like that. And it took me only about 40 books before I realized in order to make money with that, you have to have a bunch of money first.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, well, if I want to do this eventually, I need to find a different way to make a bunch of money and then be able to put it into equities and that kind of thing. So that's when I started the pool cleaning business and kind of my trail on home service type businesses. Yeah.
Dang, man. That sounds scary. So you still have family like back in Minnesota? Or?
All my family, yeah.
All your family.
Yeah.
Do you go often back?
A couple times a year.
Yeah.
And my parents come visit a few times. My
Yeah.
brother now lives in Arizona
Oh, really?
too, yeah.
What did they think about you like coming down here and everything?
At first they didn't like that I was moving here. Obviously it worked out well for me, but they didn't really say much about it.
Did it kind of put you like for me, for instance, it kind of put me in like a survival mode. It's like I'm out here alone. I gotta make it.
Yeah, for sure. And that was actually a pretty big intention of moving here. Is I was in Minnesota. I knew like I could finish my degree. I could get a job somewhere or do something with people that I already know. But I'd be in my comfort zone. But if I moved to this place where I knew no one, it'd force me out of my comfort zone and to figure something out and make it happen. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
Dude, that's one thing I'm so like, because I can relate 150% with you, because that's exactly like what my situation was.
Right.
I still have siblings that live at home, like two of my brothers that still live at home, and I'm like, why are you guys still at home? Like, you're both old enough to move out, and
Comfortable.
Yeah, they're comfortable. Yeah, and one thing I could tell people is like, because I think a lot of people move out with the intention of like freedom, right? Oh, I don't have to live under the rules of my parents. But
I moved out when I was 17.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that
time
like
to
the
be free.
intention?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were fairly strict, and it was like time to be free and do what I want. Like, I mean, ever since I was like a super young kid, I wanted to be like an adult. I just was like, I want to be grown up. I want to have responsibility. And I think most kids want to be an adult, but then they become an adult and they want to be a kid again. Yeah. It's like, no, being an adult is the freaking greatest, the greatest thing ever. Like I like having responsibility. I like being in charge of my own things. And
right. There's like times where I'm like, man, there's things about like being a kid that is like, you don't understand until you're older.
Right.
Right. Like obviously obligations, responsibilities, all that stuff. That comes with adulthood. And so sometimes I think about that, like, dang, I really did take that for granted. Obviously you don't, like I said, you don't know that until after the fact, but yeah, that's crazy, man, that you just like took that leap. So how old were you when you moved out here?
When I moved here,
I'm sort of interviewing you now.
Oh no, that's fine. Makes my job easier. I think I I must have been almost 19. I think I turned 19 like a couple days after I moved here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your friend, same age or?
He was
older?
2 years older than me. Yeah, we both ran track in in college in Minnesota, and just decided.
So who made the decision to move down here? Why Arizona?
I don't remember exactly who made the executive decision, but I know I wanted to move somewhere warm.
Okay.
So my first choices were either Arizona or Georgia. And
For no apparent reason, or have you been here before?
No, I'd never been to either. I don't know why I chose, but those were my top two. And then I think I had told my buddy that, and he kind of liked the idea too. And then we went down here to Arizona to visit, just to kind of check things out for like 5-6 days. And then we're like, yep, let's move there.
You guys never bothered to go to Georgia?
No.
I love that, dude. That's so awesome.
Then we just moved here, drove here, and
does he work with you in any of your businesses, or?
He used to with the pool cleaning business. He doesn't anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he works at Southwest Airlines.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, man. Like having a friend though is like really like that's awesome. To like have somebody come down here with you.
Yeah, we were roommates for like 6 years or something like that. We're not anymore, man. But yeah. We were almost common law married, would you say? Yeah.
I love it, dude. That's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think to like some extent, if people don't like push themselves and like really, especially our age, man, I see our generation just lacking that, man. Lacking, like my parents were strict, you know, probably like your parents. And like I always knew being in a big family. Do you have a big family?
No, I just have one brother.
Just one brother. Okay. Yeah, dude. Having a big family is people are like, oh, I wish I always had a big family, you know. But I got told no all the time as a kid. Mm-hmm. It's not that we like my parents. Like I grew kind of like lower middle class. Like they supported us, got us what we needed. And that was about it.
Yeah, you can't buy everything that 14 kids want. Like,
exactly. You know, and so I was told no a lot. You know, and like I didn't get like my first real pair of like tennis shoes, like the ones that I wanted, not hand-me-downs, like the ones that wasn't until I was like 14 or something, you know, and like it was, now that looking back, there's a lot of things because we didn't have a TV growing up, like at all. My parents still don't have a TV, which really benefited me because I don't watch any TV. I don't play any video games. I'm not a huge video gamer. I tried it one time for like 3 hours and I literally felt like the biggest piece of crap.
Afterwards?
Like, afterwards, yeah. I had like this huge guilt of like, dude, I just wasted 3 hours on nothing.
Javier was saying he likes his video.
Yeah, I know Javier does. So, you know, but that, like I said, it was just a product of your environment. And really, there was a lot of things like during like middle school and high school and stuff, like, you know, all the perverted jokes and stuff. I never really grasped what any of it meant until literally like adulthood. Like, I was like, oh, crap, that's what that meant. You know, just because I would always play it off as if, like, I knew what they were talking about or joking. But, like, now looking back, like, you know.
No idea.
Yeah, I had no idea, man. I was so, like, gullible in so many aspects. But overall, though, it's just, like, have you ever been, like, sick, like, to the extreme of, like, having cancer or anything? Have you ever gone through something like that?
I'm sure nothing like you've experienced.
Dang, man.
I've been fairly sick. Like I had a parasite that knocked me out for like 2 months.
Wow.
I broke my back when I was 15 and that was pretty bad. But snowboarding.
Snowboarding.
Yeah, but nothing like nothing like cancer.
Like life threatening.
Yeah.
Well, dude, early on that taught me a lot. Like, because like I said, I'm not like perfect, but like I didn't get into drinking. Like I've not had a sip of alcohol. Not that I'm like special or anything, but to me, a lot of people would ask me like why, and because I know what it means to like actually be healthy, and like the value of that.
It's interesting, yeah.
You know, and because of the experience that I went through of like almost dying.
How old were you?
I was 12 when I got diagnosed, and then 3 months before I got diagnosed, I had my appendix rupture. So that landed me in the hospital for a week. And so because of sepsis. And yeah, so I went through that whole, like it really taught me a lot as far as like not taking things for granted.
Right.
And it really, like, I tell myself, like, when things would get hard, it didn't matter what it was, whether it was like when I was playing sports or when I was feeling some kind of way, when things were hard, I was like, dude, I beat cancer. You know, like, that's kind of
you're
always
like, what is this?
yeah, like
Yeah,
this whole coronavirus thing. I'm like, dude, even if it does hit me, freaking beat cancer. Like, cancer
Right.
takes more lives than coronavirus will ever probably take.
What kind of cancer was it?
Leukemia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was scary. As a kid, you don't know what's going on. I didn't even know what cancer was when I got it. I just knew I wasn't going to go to school for the next year, pretty much.
Was it a year that you were out, or?
So, yeah, like my 6th grade year, I was completely out. Spent a whole month in the hospital getting, like, really aggressive chemo.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did 4 more years of chemo afterwards.
Wow, dang.
Yeah.
And you're totally cancer-free now?
Yeah, totally cancer-free.
So I have a buddy who had leukemia when he was like 30.
Mm-hmm.
And is it like every 5 years you have to go and get another test or something like
They
that?
recommend that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the cure rate for, like, children with leukemia is really high.
Okay, that's what
yeah.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's like 90-something% cure rate.
Wow.
So it's really high. They recommended it to my parents that I do 4 more years just to, like, be safe, which when I realized what the heck was going on, like how aggressive this drug was,
Right.
I don't want. I remember thinking I was 12, and my parents walked in with the doctor and they're like, "Well, we're doing 4 more years of chemo." I was like, "What the heck? I'm gonna be 16." Like, that's what I was thinking about, and I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna miss out literally on that entire development stage of, like."
Right.
Yeah.
No wonder you were like so innocent and like you just didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
I-
So what does that mean? 4 years of chemo? Like how often are you having to go? And
So the first year I went once a week, and so this was at the St. Louis Children's Hospital. So it was about a 3.5-hour drive from Springfield.
okay, so basically
Every
a whole
week.
day every week was
Yeah, every Friday for a year, and then once a month the second year, and then every 3 months the third year, and then every 6 months the last year. Yeah. And yeah, the whole thing, man, was like, people ask me, were you in pain? And I'm like, it wasn't that I was in pain, but you just, like, take the flu times 100. That's how you feel all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just depleted of energy. You're on like medication that makes you super moody. And I know that chemo has the potential to alter your genes.
Right.
So, like, but nobody in my family ever had cancer. So that was very interesting.
That
It's
is
like, where did that come from? You know, like, what the heck? So
Wow.
is this genetic or is it not? But like I said, my faith is huge. So that process alone, going through all that, has really grown my faith. I think the effects of it overall, because I don't know, have you ever dealt with like depression? Or, you know, because I think I wasn't ever diagnosed with depression. But I think the after facts, like after the fact of going through all that and realizing what the heck. And then right after I had finished my chemo, that same year, I had a brother that passed away. And like, I'm willing to talk about it because like I'm 100% fine talking about it now and everything. But that really played a huge factor in my mental state too. Nobody was expecting it. He was 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I had just gone through this really crazy treatment regimen. And yeah, like, I think that all kind of led to, I did go through a depression phase.
Right.
You know, where I was like,
warranted. Jeez.
yeah. So like, you know, but that gave me no excuse to like be a victim to everything that I had gone through. You know, that wasn't like, even the cancer and everything that happened. I think we live in a very victim mentality. Like nowadays, that's what everybody is. They're a victim to something.
Right.
So there's a reason why they didn't do something. Right. But I did not allow myself to ever do that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, I could see that having an extreme effect on your perspective either way. Like, that could make someone feel like, oh, poor me, you know, why do I have to deal with this when no one else does? Or you could have the perspective that it seems like you have, where it's like, okay, I beat this, nothing else can stop me. I did this, you know?
Yeah, and the one thing was, I realized this pretty quickly, was I just wanted to be treated normal. I didn't
Right.
want to have any special circumstances because I had cancer or I was going through chemo. You know, I was always being put like in special classes or given like leeway on certain things because of like in gym, they wouldn't make me go work out.
Right.
They wouldn't make me
that'd
go
be
do
annoying. Yeah.
And then like teachers would be like, "Oh, don't worry, it's okay." Which most students would be totally fine with that. I wanted to actually feel normal. I wanted to do what everybody else was doing.
Yeah. I think at 13 years old, you want to feel like you're like everyone else more.
Yeah,
than
dude,
anything.
like I would literally like I had a port hanging out of my chest, like my first port. I was like, dude, throw me in dodgeball. I want to play dodgeball. You know,
Right.
like I don't care if this thing gets yanked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so like my mom was always scared and stuff, and then we finally got one that was kind of inserted in and it was under the skin. But yeah, like I realized that pretty quickly. I was like, dude, I want to be just like everybody else. I want to feel normal. Like there's no reason to make the exception for me.
Right.
I totally get it, you know, from their perspective, like safety and making sure I don't get hurt and whatever. And that was kind of how it was throughout most of my like teen life was like, oh, he had cancer. He's sensitive.
Yeah.
Be careful. Like don't say certain things. You know, and
I'd hate to be labeled like that. Yeah. I understand. Where
Yeah,
you're
being
coming from.
labeled. Exactly, dude.
Yeah.
And
Like,
people,
especially as like a man, you don't want to be like the fragile guy, like, you know.
Yeah, and then there's that whole aspect of like being a man or being a boy or whatever. It's like, and so that I really learned on really quickly not to play victim with the circumstances that I was in.
Right.
You know, I'm like, if I'm gonna play victim, everybody else is gonna treat me the same. Like that's what I'm gonna get out of it. And so I was told like, oh, I wouldn't finish high school because I wasn't smart enough or I was falling behind on like homework or whatever. Graduated high school at 17, you know, was the youngest in my class actually.
Me too.
And then, yeah, really?
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And so there was that. And then college, you know, they're like, oh, he doesn't have it. Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this before, you know, going into it. So I'm curious, like, you know, at what point did you switch from, okay, I want to be like everyone else to, okay, now I want to have this mindset of being like extraordinary and doing the most I possibly can?
Knowing I only have one life and that like I think about my death all the time. Like literally, I'm like, okay, when I die, what's going to be left behind? Like what difference did I truly make?
Right.
In people's lives, you know? And on top of that, like looking at everybody else's lives around me, like personally, and realizing how close-minded they are and how that's not how I want to be and don't want to be remembered like that. And being that person that was willing to go for whatever God put on his heart and whatever I truly felt was right. Like even in nursing school, I gave my 150%. Showed up, did what I needed to do. Didn't matter if I was sick, I still showed up. Like the same with everything else that I've done up to this point. And like with Kobe Bryant dying, I looked up to him. I actually got a Make-A-Wish from Make-A-Wish. Like they actually granted me a wish. And it was either meeting Kobe Bryant or like another, like building something or getting something.
Right.
And my parents were so like against me visiting, like, or like going and meeting Kobe Bryant and all that. Cause they're like, you're only going to take a picture and that's all you're going to have, you know?
Right.
And I was like, okay. So they ended up building me a half-court basketball court.
Oh, that's cool.
And so they put like these outdoor tile. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're like gripped.
Yeah.
And they're colored. And so I did Lakers theme. So purple and
Oh,
gold.
nice.
Yeah. So it was really cool. And it was based off of like the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. And because I love basketball. And so his whole Mamba mentality, you know?
Right.
And literally just going for it, no matter what anybody says, no matter what people have to say. Same with YouTube. Like, dude, as you know, I'm sure when you started your channel, I don't know if you did, you could tell me, but do people were like, why are you starting a channel? Like,
Yeah, I mean, people they're kind of a little weirded out by it. Why is this guy talking about himself? You know, that kind of thing.
I got told, like, who's going to listen to a 20, at the time when I started, I was just barely 22 or turning 23. And they're like, who's going to listen to a 23-year-old talk about assisted living? You know what I mean?
Thousands of people, as you know now.
But the weird thing was, and I'm sure I saw this, like, I knew the game plan. I was like, I'm going to start this channel. I'm going to provide all this great value. and it's going to grow. And when it grows, I'm going to funnel it into something else. And all of this is going to pay for itself.
Pay dividends, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I did 9 months of free work and giving out all this value before I got monetized. But now it's paying off, you know, way more than I could ever imagine. It's opened up doors and opportunities for me. And so, but that was the thing, dude. I didn't let anybody stop me. I put in the work, continue to put in the work. I'm not going to stop. Same with all my other businesses. Like, and that's what it truly, like, I think that kind of came as, I think, work ethic. My dad was just a really hard worker, and I got inspired by him.
Right.
Just to see how hard, he still works really hard even to this day. And that I definitely get from him. And so, like, seeing, and another thing is I think about my dad and him immigrating here to America to give me this opportunity to, like, actually make something of myself and build something for future generations and, like, make the most of it. And I think about him, I'm like, dude, I don't want to let him down. Like,
right. He did all this, just for you to slack off.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people who are Romanian, their parents immigrated just like my parents did, and they just take it for granted. Just sit back, kind of casually hang out, become complacent, and don't do the most with the potential that they have. Everybody has that potential. So
yeah, you have all these factors that really, like, let you take a step back and look and be like, okay, I'm good. I have this life no matter what. I'm going to die no matter what. You have all this perspective on, just getting shit done and just, making something of yourself. And that's what I think that's a huge problem right now with how easy it is to be to be comfortable and how easy it is just to get by.
Yeah.
And like you work 20 hours a week at a minimum wage job and get by, you know, and it's just so easy. Like everything is built to be, easy and comfortable. And I think it's great that it's come to that, but it's also like an underlying problem where people are just so scared of discomfort and like getting out there and just doing things that might hurt just a little bit, And that's one of the biggest problems. That's why people get so offended about just the most minor things, because they don't have to worry about where their food's coming from. That's all they have to worry about is getting offended or, whatever.
And like that, like to kind of go on your topic there, like too many people, especially I think just our generation and the generation before us, kind of like getting offended. Like, dude, I don't get offended by any means in the sense of like,
right.
I mean, dude, there's things that like I can't control that people comment on, right? For instance, like I'm not like the tallest dude, but I'm not the shortest dude, but I'm still short. So like that's something that's out of my control. And people just comment on that for whatever reason. They're just like, bro, you're short. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like,
yeah, sweet, bro.
Yeah, like, oh, you hurt me. I joke about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally fine. Like, I don't care. And there's like factors out of my control that people try to like offend me by, but really doesn't, And so, but then there's like things that genuinely like cancer, right? Or I have like a niece who has autism and Down syndrome, right? And when people say like retarded or things of that nature, like that hits close to like home, and like that's when I'll like definitely make the person aware of like, hey man, like I would appreciate it if you don't, right? Just kind of keep it in the back of their mind, like, this is why I don't. And I think too many people oftentimes don't give an explanation to why something may actually hurt them or offend them. They're just like, that offended me. You're just kind of like, okay, why? Right? And so there's that huge gap too. Another thing is communication, talking. Like our generation can't talk to people.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, the attention span too.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so bad, and for people like you and I, right, it's so easy for us to stand out. Knowing how to give a good handshake, knowing how to look people in the eye and talk to them. Right. And like just simple things like that.
The basics, yeah.
Yeah, just the basics. And it makes our lives easy, makes us stand out, makes it easy for people to work with us. And it's so easy now to like be quote unquote like successful in things if you can be that way and learn those traits.
Yeah, it's really easy to stand out and and
Yeah.
be like extraordinary compared to the crowd.
Because I'm sure
right
you get
now.
it. You probably get like, oh man, you've done so much. You know, by you're 26, right?
Now I'm 24.
24. So by 24.
Yeah.
So it's like you've done so much by 24.
Right.
How? You know.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, I spend so little time comparing myself to other people, because, like, if you look at the average 24-year-old, it's like I don't want to be anything near, the average 24-year-old.
Yeah.
It's all just me versus me. How can I be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today?
Exactly.
And that alone, just the compounding effects of being just a little bit better every single day, working a little more on my business, on myself, on my life, whatever.
So what kind of habits do you have? Like as far as like doing that, like becoming better and like building that? Do you have like certain things?
Yeah,
that you do
yeah. I
on
mean,
a
I'm
daily basis?
like extremely disciplined with my daily schedule, because I think like a daily schedule is literally everything. So not every single day, but 6 days a week, I go to the gym in the morning, and then I go straight to work.
Are you one
that.
of the 4:30 a.m.?
It varies a little bit.
Okay.
More recently, I've been working later, so I'll go to the gym at like 7, and then then I'm here at work by like 8 or 9.
Okay.
But I kind of go through phases, and depending on what is needed. Like
Yeah.
right now, I'm not so much needed here, but I have a lot to do like on the computer and stuff like that, and I'd rather do that when everything is closed.
Right.
So, like, 6 days a week I'm doing that. I get here, I meal prep all my meals, so I'm not going out to eat or anything like that. I work then.
How long have you been doing that, like meal prepping? Do you do it like certain phases?
No, I've been doing it consistently now for like my whole adult life. I don't know,
Wow.
6-7 years.
Props to you, man.
Yeah, meal prep every single meal. So then I'm at work until like 8 or 9 p.m. I'll go home. I play piano for half hour every single day.
Wow.
Then at that point, whatever time I have left in the day, then I might have some like entertainment. I might watch one episode of something or something like that, and then I go to sleep, do it again. Like that's literally.
I love
like,
that. Do you
like
do any kind of
clockwork.
like life hacks as far as like cryotherapy or like infrared sauna or like anything of that
No,
nature?
not really. I'm just pounding the pavement, get shit done.
Yeah. No, I hear you. You get good sleep though?
I sleep 8 hours every
prioritize?
night. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
Sleep is huge for me. I drink a lot of caffeine right now. In the past, I quit caffeine, but then I got right back on it.
What are you taking in? How much do you think?
I'll have a coffee in the morning, and then I'd say half of the time I'll have an energy drink in the afternoon.
So like about 300, give or take. Probably more.
In a day, like milligrams?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably 200 to 300,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't like the energy drinks. Like, you got a bang here. That's
Yeah.
too much for me.
Yeah, is it?
That's got like 300 milligrams.
Yeah,
in one
that
can.
alone, I think it's like 300.
Yeah. I like Rock Stars. I think those have like 175 milligrams.
Okay, yeah.
Red Bull doesn't have quite as much. Yeah, the bang is just, man, I get cracked out too easy.
So like, dude, the bang, I got hooked on it like in nursing school. When I first had it, I was like, what the heck? I was like, this is some good stuff. But no, man, that's awesome that you're doing that. Because to that point is like, I love, like, I'm pretty religiously, like, I go to sleep at a certain time, 8:30. Mm-hmm. I sound like an old person,
You go to
dude.
sleep at 8:30? That's impressive.
I
You
go
have
to
a
sleep-
girlfriend?
I do. She's like, all right, good night. Talk to you in the morning.
Wow.
I wake up at 4:15 every morning. Doesn't matter. Actually, Saturday and Sunday, because the gym is closed until 8, but I still wake up at like 6, so it's like my sleep in. But I wake up and then I go to the gym at 5 throughout the week when the gym's open at 5, and then get a workout in, do my cardio. Then I do the infrared sauna where I meditate. Do you do any meditation?
No.
Dude, I didn't believe in it. Like, not that I didn't believe in it, because obviously people talk about it and like they see the benefits of it. Dude, it is one of the most like I didn't start meditating until like January this year. Not that I did like a New Year's. I just tried it, and so I do it when I'm in the infrared sauna for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And dude, it's like, it's made such a huge difference. Even the infrared sauna has for me, because they have it there at the gym. So I just use it with like recovery and soreness and everything. Truly, it's helped so much, man.
So how do you do your meditation?
So I have a meditation app. It's a Christian meditation app. So it's called Abide. And they have ranging from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. So they'll have like a 5-minute one, 10-minute one, and then like I think a 15 and a 20, I believe. And so I choose the 15 one. And then they have like the soothing music in the background, and they like touch on a message, like a verse in the Bible. And then it's meant to meditate on. So they have it specifically for meditation. So I just go in the infrared sauna and I just sit there, and there's usually nobody in there when I go. And so it's just me and the meditation app.
So what has that done for you?
Honestly, it's slowed like my thought process down a lot more, cleared my mind. Like before, I used to always have like a million things going on in my mind, like just thoughts, just random thoughts, whether it was from like business or life or your past, things of that nature. Now it just like when I meditate, it's like I can just close that all off. And I just go into this weird zen. It's hard to explain.
Did it take a while before it started working for you?
Not necessarily. I think when I realized, okay, like what do I need to do to like get into that? I literally just focus on my breathing and just like really try to like breathe out the stress and the tension that I have. And it really has helped, man. It really has helped in like clearing my mind and setting me up for a good day.
Interesting. So did you find before that you were easily stressed?
Before that, yeah. Before that,
Okay.
I would just have a lot of thoughts, and it has helped me to like write down all my thoughts. It doesn't matter if they even make sense, because then I can like prioritize like,
Right.
this is what I should focus on. This is why am I even, because then you can kind of sort through them. I don't do the writing down as much just because I haven't seemed to find that as helpful as the meditation. Like with the meditation, I'm able to like actually close off those thoughts and like figuring out what my triggers are. Like one day, literally a couple days ago, I did my normal routine of like getting up in the morning, started out my morning great, did all that. And then instantly like something just like got me like really frustrated, like stressed out. And I instantly knew what was going on, you know, and I was able to like capture that and control that instead of like letting it ruin the rest of my day.
You think you're able to capture it because of your practice in being more mindful of what's going on?
Yeah, and collecting those like thoughts that are going through your head, that are just running through your head constantly. Because I think there was a statistic, like we have like 70,000 thoughts a day or something like that, something ridiculous like that. And I never like realized that until after seeing that and hearing that, and I was like, And I know that I struggle with that at least, of like, and then at night I sleep so much better because like,
Interesting.
yeah, it has,
Because you're like, those thoughts are already done. Like
they're gone. Like you've dealt with them, you've canceled them out. You're not worried about it. And then you also just know, like at the end of the night, like I know that like all of it is taken care of, done, of what I needed to do for the day. And I'm just able to get way better rest. And I'm huge on sleep too. Like I at least get 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep every night.
You know, I tried meditating for about 2 weeks. This is probably 2 years ago now. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, because I was like, I'm going to do it for 2 weeks, see if I like it. I was like, I'm calm already as is. Like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Because I don't get stressed very easily at all. Like I'm always just on one level.
You're
I
on
feel
one
like I'm
frequency.
already, yeah, I feel like I'm already what people are trying to meditate to be.
Yeah.
And with all this going on constantly, so I'm like, I don't need it. But but then I always think like maybe I just didn't do it right, or maybe there's more to it or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So, see, and I think that is kind of like the differentiating factors. Like because like to me, just not having dealt with everything in my life properly, and actually talking about it to somebody, or just really actually telling myself the truth about like how I was truly feeling and what was going on in my mind. Because I would always play this, like I would always say to myself, nobody understands me.
Oh, okay.
Nobody understands what I'm thinking. Nobody's understanding what I'm going through or what I'm feeling, right? Because it's hard to. It's you are the only person knowing what you feel like, right? And so I just would never talk to people about whether I was going through like a certain episode of like depression or whatever the case was, right? And learning what I've learned now and reading and all that has helped so much more to like grow my mindset and grow truly like what I aspire to be. And so like the meditation aspect has helped me a lot more. And trust me, because I was the same way, dude. I didn't want to read because I was like, that's stupid.
Right.
ego. Straight up.
Were you
ego.
like, I don't need to learn. I
Yeah,
already
it's just
know
ego. It's
what's
like,
going on.
I'm not gonna waste my time reading.
Yeah, I think
Why
that's a
read?
big factor. Like people going into it, like I know how to navigate this. I already know what's going
Yeah.
on. I don't need to read like that, and it's a lot of work, obviously.
That and then like the whole meditation. What's meditation? That's stupid too, right? Like because there's gonna be people that listen or hear it and they're just like, oh, okay, he meditates and he reads, whatever. Why should I do it? Like it's not gonna help me.
Right.
But you don't know that. Like if you haven't done it, you don't know. Just try it. Give it, like you said, do it for at least.
Yeah.
I say something becomes a habit after 30 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just do it at least for 30 days. Just give yourself a month to do something consistently every day. And if you just truly feel like it's not for you, then
Right.
then don't do it. Like I'm gonna try a vegan diet, right?
I want to do the carnivore diet.
I've heard of that too. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I want to try certain things.
Yeah.
I may end up loving it, right?
Right.
Because I meal prep too, and I love it. I just like do it during certain times when I'm like, whether I'm bulking up or whatever. But like just try it, dude. Like it's too many people are just like too egotistical to be like, oh, I'm not gonna track my food. That's stupid. But you won't like, dude. You'll lose so much more weight tracking what you eat.
Yeah.
Like
Just
so much
measuring.
faster.
Yeah.
Just cleaning up your diet and tracking what you're putting in, and like I've literally recommended the Fitness Pal. Like do you use that?
Yes, every day.
Dude, I literally have recommended that to my girlfriend's family, people who are just like, oh, I'm going on a diet. I'm doing keto, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing this. And I'm like, dude, that's not consistent. Like
Right.
the
You
second
don't-
you break off of that, you just ruined everything you just worked for. Your body's going to, So
And I tell everyone too, like you have no idea how much you're eating until you enter it, because I'll use it for a period of time, think that I understand like how much calories are in what foods, and then I won't use it for like a month, and I'll go back and I'll have my day's worth of food, and I'll be way off. I'll think it's way different than what it actually is. And that's after using it for months and years.
Yeah.
And it's like random people, you do not know how much you're eating.
exactly. And then
Yeah,
they're
I've
like,
told so many people to use that app too, and one person ever has used it, and it's my girlfriend.
Really?
She started using it, and it worked perfectly for her. She's the only person who ever took my suggestion on it.
but do you get that response too? Like, no, I don't need it.
That's too much work.
Yeah.
People say it's too much work, or I already know what I'm eating.
Yeah. Oh, I have a good diet. I'm working out every day.
Yeah.
Like that's not, you know what I mean? So like that's just a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
So I intentionally, like nobody told me about Fitness Pal. I'm sure you follow like Christian Guzman on YouTube. If you've heard of him, he's just one of the fitness YouTubers. But anyways, he was like doing his diet and stuff and recommended it. And I was like, I'm gonna try it, and I've been using it since.
Yeah.
And that was like years ago. So like that was something that, like, dude, people just, that's the thing, dude. Like if someone gives me a recommendation, I'm definitely gonna consider it. I'm gonna give it a try. I may hate it and I may not.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is so many people are all about the you should do this, you should do that, to where you hear that and you're kind of like, everyone's trying to tell me what to do. So it's like you have to be really careful about the sources of who's telling you what you should or shouldn't do. And because of that, I try to be really particular about what I recommend to what person. Because like after I get to know someone, then, even things like a show I see that's interesting, or like an app or, something like that, then I try to really fine tune it to this particular person. Like, hey, I saw this movie, you would like it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
To, really be like, try to fine tune,
One
to
thing,
the person.
to that point, because you're right. People do always give out suggestions, whether it's
Everyone knows exactly how everyone else should live.
it's like, yeah, exactly. And so I'm definitely very cautious of that. I just like keep to myself. If someone's just like, hey, what are you doing, by the way, that you're like losing all this weight or that you're gaining all this weight, or then I'll give my suggestion.
Right.
Like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. Like you said. So it's like being very cautious of that. And
Agreed.
yeah, like, and same with business, with YouTube. Like, dude, if people are like, well, how are you growing your channel? And I'll just like tell them exactly what I've done. Like, I'm not like gonna hold back what I've learned.
What is the best thing that you've done so far?
Well, in the beginning, so I did a various amount of topics. And then, like you said, I realized like after my first 10 videos, my assisted living one got quite a bit of views, more than the other 9. And I was like, okay. then I'll just run with that. So I definitely niched down a lot, completely niched down to assisted living. And yeah, like that's the main thing I would
So
tell
just
people.
focusing on what worked. Simple as that.
I asked people, what are you currently doing right now in your life? What are you, like, whether it's a hobby, whether it's what you do for work, whether it's a business you're doing, what is it you're doing? Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Yeah, and just try it. Yeah.
And just talk about it.
So,
and really, and then one thing I also learned was your demographic was like, because I was uploading the first month, I uploaded every single day, which is annoying as can be for anybody that was subscribed at the time.
Right.
And then I would just put it all over my social media. It's like I put it on my stories, I put it on my Facebook, I put it, like constantly bombarding people, like being annoying. And then I dropped down to 3 times a week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for like about 3 or 4 months. And I dropped down to 2 times a week for like 2 months. And then I just only do once a week.
Really? I'm doing the opposite. I did once a week for 10 months, and then I started doing twice a week, and now I'm thinking about doing 3 times a week.
So the one thing I learned was my demographic. I realized when I instantly because my demographic, they're all working people, right?
Right.
And they're all people who have kids, have family. I don't want to bombard. They can't keep up with my videos if I'm doing twice a week or even more than that. They're not going to have time to watch my videos. Mm-hmm. But if I do it once a week, I know that they'll eventually watch it at some point during the week, And
have you seen more growth when you don't do once a week?
If I don't do once a week, if I do more?
Yeah, now that you've scaled down, has growth increased or decreased?
Increased.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's increased. And it's made my life easier.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm able to actually produce topics that I genuinely want to talk about and not try to force.
I wonder how much is that is quality of content versus, less frequency? Is it because the quality is so much higher now that you're doing less, or is it because it's less frequent?
Well, I have quantity. I have I think 165 videos uploaded right now. So I definitely have a good amount of quantity in there. So if anybody did want to go back.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the increased success in doing fewer videos.
Oh yeah,
is that because they're just better videos?
Not in the sense of production wise, because I've been sort of producing with the same gear and everything. But yeah, the topics are a lot more quality.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not as stressed out or as I got to get this video out today.
Yeah, let me just put some
the algorithm's going to eat me up, so yeah, that definitely is another tip I would tell people.
How long have you been posting for?
It'll be 2 years in September of this year. So just about a year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay.
Yeah, roughly about a year and a half.
So about half a year more than me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I think that consistency, whatever you choose to upload, just be consistent with it.
Right.
And then just let your audience speak for you, I rarely get bad criticism.
Right.
Oh bro, what the heck? For the most part, you have a lot of people that just love the videos and are great value. We love what you do. Keep going. And then I've had 2 people say really rude stuff, really ridiculous. One person was bro, you're hustle. You're all about the money, blah, blah, blah. I bet your mom is so proud of you, sarcastically. And I was like, okay, dude, block, I'm not going to tolerate that. It didn't bother me, but I was just kind of okay, you got those people. And then one guy actually, this is a really good topic, by the way. One guy said, he said something along the lines of, you're ugly or something. I don't even know. Something along the lines of that.
Just childish.
Just very immature and something that he personally is dealing with. But then I just said, or no, I don't remember what he said, but I commented back hey, I'm praying for you. I wish you the best and God bless you.
What do you say to that? Yeah.
Dude, he was just well, Serge, thank you so much. I could definitely use the prayers. I'm going through a really hard time. Dude, literally, that's what he commented. I'm sure if I go back, I can find the thread, but dude, yeah, it's just a matter of dude, just be kind.
Yeah.
Respond with kindness, and they may hate you even more because of something they're dealing with, you know, and or they just won't comment back to that. And then people who do open up that comment thread would be like, oh dang, he really responded like nice. And
yeah, I don't know if I've gotten any negative comments on YouTube, but I do post like a lot of articles and stuff to Reddit. And I mean, I'm impervious to hate now because of that. I don't know. I've probably received hundreds of like crap comments on stuff on Reddit. Oh yeah, people on Reddit are ruthless sometimes.
Dude, yeah, Reddit.
But you know, 95% are so positive, but it's that 5% that sticks out, obviously.
Right. And I think like, dude, as long as you're providing great value.
Right. And most people know that and are fine with that. Exactly. Even the people who comment negatively, they know that, or they just have something else going on. Like yesterday I had a post that did super well, like over 1,000 upvotes and like 200 comments or something like that. And I had like looked at it like 30 minutes after I posted and didn't look at it again. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's a few comments in there that are like hating on whatever, but
right. No, yeah, dude. And that's another thing. I think for people starting channels or creating content and whatever, just provide value.
Yeah.
I think that's like, there's enough of the other crap out there, like vlogs. I tell people don't do vlogs. Like life can't be that interesting. You know what I mean? Unless you're like a full on celebrity, but like, just like provide value, man. That will ultimately open up streams of income that you can even think of, you know. The
thing is about vlogs is it makes it more of a storyline though. Mm-hmm. So I've thought about like, well, I have a couple that are like done. I just haven't released them that are just like, you know, we just moved into this warehouse. It's just kind of like, it's like a highlight reel of what happened in the last month or whatever. Yeah. And I think those kinds of things, if done right, can build the interest in what you have going on more than just like an informational video that's super specific. Right. If you have some information video, not everyone's going to watch it, but if there's some video about your character or what's going on, there's going to be people who are invested in that. Yeah. And then we'll also want to see your
I think I think I did like a vlog or two on my channel. People seem to love it. On my aspect, it was a lot like harder because I don't have an editor and I do everything myself. Yeah. So it kind of definitely became a lot more time consuming to just go throughout the day and like,
that's,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Have a camera constantly with you. I think eventually down the road, I'll do something along the lines of that, like where I can provide information while I'm going along throughout my day.
Yeah. Well, I have Alex here. So he's like, I'm like, there's a shipment coming in, grab your camera. We'll make something out of it. Or, something like that makes it a lot easier.
But yeah, man, that's like I've enjoyed it, dude. That's another thing. I realized pretty quickly I enjoy doing it. That's another thing I would tell people. It's like if you realize you hate it, just don't continue doing it. It'll just be a waste of your time and everybody else's time. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having you on. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Yeah, you want to plug your social media, your YouTube channel? He's killing it on YouTube. I think you got like 5,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I just hit over 5,000.
Heck yeah, that's a big milestone.
It is a milestone. Man, it's been crazy. But yeah, it's just SergLupescu. So Serg Lupescu, both on my social media, Instagram, and then also my YouTube channel, Serg Lupescu.
Yeah, I'll link it in the description as well.
Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, give him a follow. He's doing some exciting things. He's got to, dabbling in a little. I didn't see any videos on the Airbnb. Are you doing
I did do some videos. Yeah, I have like a playlist on YouTube as well with the Airbnb. I give a tour of the video of the house and the listing and everything. And then I started a podcast. When did I start? I started in like November last year, I think. Nice. The God Made podcast. So I started that initially because I was like, man, people see my YouTube channel. They just kind of see that part of me, right? Information, Airbnb and assisted living, like whatever. So they never really got to like get to know me. Like they didn't really know me. So on the podcast, I definitely go into depth about like who I am as a person and all that good stuff. And also talk like business and mainly just because everybody says they're self-made, which is fine if that's what you want to consider yourself. But I consider myself God-made. So like that
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So is that through your YouTube channel as well? Is that separate?
That's separate. So I have the God Made podcast, which is separate, and then you got Serg Lupescu, the YouTube channel. So
are those both on YouTube, or where do you find?
I actually didn't. I was thinking about streaming it on YouTube, but then I realized I'm just sitting there talking. Like, some people like it if they just like stare at me, but
so that's just audio. Any podcast app?
Okay. iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, all that.
Perfect. Check out Serg.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll link it in the description below. He's doing some exciting things. If you're interested in assisted living, hit him up, watch his videos.
Well, dude, Max, it's been honestly a pleasure, dude. I'm happy Javier like recommended me to you.
This has been great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm willing to hopefully see what comes out of all this and learning from you. I mean, I know you got a bunch of lessons that I can probably learn from. So
yeah, likewise.
Yeah,
appreciate it
for sure, guys.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.